start episode 14 with a complaint that we've received from emails. godchatpodcast@gmail.com. Someone has emailed and complained about God Chat with Podcast.
Why not start on a positive note, Tony, rather than a complaint? There must be some good news.
Well, this is the good news, my maggot-minded friend. This is literally going to be the best part of the podcast. If you're listening to this right now, just turn it off. This is literally as good as this episode will get.
Right, I might head off then, Tony.
What? You can't leave, God. You're the whole point of this audio disaster.
But you just told everyone to turn it off, Tony. I don't understand.
I know, my scorpion-faced friend, but we do owe all two of our listeners something. Come on, God. Come on, stay and talk to me. Talk to me about love and Jesus and Bibles and butterflies.
Get on with the complaint, Tony. We've already wasted enough time as it is.
All right, God. Have you got somewhere to be? I'm holding you up.
Well, actually, Tony, I'm getting my back waxed at 2:30, so get a move on.
Okay. Getting your back waxed. You getting anywhere else waxed, you know?
They won't have time, Tony, to do the holy ball bag. It takes 6 of them 4 hours just to do my shoulders.
Yeah, I actually forgot how hirsute you were. You're like a holy Wookiee. What do they do with all your excess back hair, God? There must be tons of it. Do they put it through like a baling machine?
Actually, Tony, they stuff mattresses with it. One half of my back can fill 4,000 queen-size mattresses.
Well, that's amazing. So you're actually yielding a profit from your back hair, God. That's awesome.
I donate for free, Tony. You know, sometimes you've got to give something back. You've got to give back.
You've got to give back, and your back does give. You are giving back with your hairy back, God.
You've got to give back, Tony. You've got to give back.
But thinking about it, there must be a massive cost to you for getting your back waxed, God. I mean, how many wax strips would they need? Not to mention the cost of labour.
Well, I usually get vulnerable illegal immigrants to do it, Tony. They're pretty cheap. And the occasional threat of a call to border security usually keeps them shut. And with regard to the wax strips, I just get them to use industrial rolls of flypaper, Tony. Much cheaper.
Jesus, that must be really painful for the poor people doing it, you know, their hands and everything.
Yeah, probably, Tony. Anyway, enough about my back hair. Who's had the audacity to complain about your lovely soft podcast, Tony?
The complete bin-da-dunda, ha-da-da-da, ba-da-din-da-dunda. I just wanted to say complaint. The complaint this episode comes from Sarah Sweeps from Birmingham, the United Kingdom of England's God.
And what does Sarah say, Tony?
Well, if you stopped interrupting, you stupid massive bowl of milk in space, I'll tell you.
All right, Tony.
Dear Tony and God, I recently had the displeasure of coming across your silly little podcast on iTunes. How dare you mock God? This is sacrilege, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. Unfortunately, you atheist types are all the same and will end up rotting in hell forever. Your time will come, you'll be judged, be warned. Warmest regards, Sarah Sweeps.
Crikey, Tony.
I don't understand. Why does everyone think that this is a bloody atheist podcast, God?
Oh, I've no idea, Tony. It doesn't make any bloody sense. Don't they realise that you talk to God?
Duh. I'm sick of being lumped in with these atheists, God. How much evidence do they need? They're like a cult, literally, even with solid evidence. Oh, you can't prove that. Oh, that's not evidence.
Exactly, Tony. Exactly, Tony. If my soft, warm voice and nonsensical rantings aren't enough for the atheists, then I don't know what is. Shall we do AGA, Tony?
Yes, let's do AGA, God.
You send an email into the show with a question that you want to know the answer to, so you can get on with your day. It's
and as usual, it's an absolute delight for us to hear the beautiful liquid gold voice of an angel bringing us in to ask God anything. First question, dear God, There are some vegetarian sausages in my fridge. I purchased them for a family member who doesn't eat meat over Christmas. They didn't end up getting eaten by the aforementioned vegetarian. My quandary is that we have two main sections in the fridge, meat and the other one being dairy. So do I store the vegetarian sausages in the meat section or the dairy section? Please help. Mary Squirrels from Utah in United American States of the United Americans.
What is a vegetarian sausage? A sausage made out of vegetarians, Tony?
I think so, yeah. It's like they mince up vegetarians and then create a sausage from their flesh and fat. God!
Well, in that case, I don't see what the problem is. It's meat. Put it with the other meats.
Okay, next question. Dear God, I've really enjoyed listening to you pissing around with Tony. You know, talking about dams, Joel Ostrich and cooking broths. However, I think it's time I really pin you down on a matter of utmost importance. Dog noses are wet. Why? And that comes from Huge Wang.
I'll handle this, Tony. So, wet noses help dogs smell and see the world better. Their noses secrete mucus. The inner lining of the dog's noses contains special glands that produce a mucus to keep the nasal canals moist. A thin layer of mucus clings to the nostrils, enhancing the absorption of scent, chemicals, and improving the dog's overall ability to smell. Does that make sense, Hugh? 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 Does that make sense, Siggy? Ha-ta-ta, ha-ta-ta.
Yeah, okay. God, what's in your pocket this episode?
There's Portugal. Just move that. Yeah. Look, Tony, it's Dennis Hopper. And some old pasta. Ooh, and a Betamax video recorder. Move that. Rod Stewart. And ironically, Maggie May.
That's odd, God. Is there anything horrific from your shitty Bible book thing, God?
Let me have a look. Ooh, what's this? It looks like it's another passage from the book of Revelations, Tony.
We'll hand it over, God. We must read it aloud to all three of our listeners.
Here you go.
Okay, so Revelations 21:8. Liars. Their place will be in the fiery lake of burning sulphur. This is the second death. So anyone that tells a pork pie is basically going to go to hell forever.
I don't think there's much controversial about that, Tony. It's there in my book. Don't tell lies. All right?
Right. Okay, fair enough. Well, it's actually hell's probably better than your rubbish overcrowded heaven in space, isn't it?
Yeah, well, interesting you say that, Tony. I'm actually getting heaven cleaned at the moment as we speak.
Why?
It's fucking filthy, Tony. I haven't cleaned it for years.
Yep, fair enough.
God knows who. God knows who. God knows whose nose we're in. God knows whose nose God we're knows. In. God knows. Take us, God, on a journey. Take us, God, into a journey. God knows. God knows who. God knows who. God knows.
Oh, what a beak we're in this episode, God. It's should have brought my sunglasses. It's certainly bright in here. Let me describe the inside of this nose for those that have made it this far into the podcast.
So you're basically describing it to nobody, Tony?
Probably, God. So there are lots of lights, bright lights, big lights. The floor is marble, and it smells of a sort of a delicate floral hue. It's very clinical. It's kind of like an operating theatre, really.
And what can you see over there, Tony?
Is that what I think it is?
Go and have a look, child of wonder.
It's David Blaine floating around in the air, suspended from a lot of balloons whilst juggling sausages, God.
But they aren't ordinary sausages, Tony. They're vegetarian sausages.
I didn't know crazy magician Blaine was a vegetarian, God.
He isn't, Tony, but he likes to eat vegetarian sausages.
Interesting, but that doesn't make sense.
What, Tony? Of course it does.
Whoa, that was close. He nearly dropped one.
I'm all confused, Tony. If he's a vegetarian, why would he eat vegetarian sausages? Surely that's cannibalism, Tony.
Yeah, fair point. Don't eat the sausages, David. They're made out of vegetarians.
He can't hear you, Tony. He's too far away.
Don't eat the sausages, David. They're made out of... human vegetarians.
Oh, fuck him, Tony. Pretentious twat floating around in a nose.
Oh, God, I like Blaine. Anyway, whose nose are we in? God knows whose God knows whose knows God. Whose nose are we in God knows who? God.
Want to have a guess, Tony?
If I had to guess, I'd say Neil Diamond.
Ah, so close, Tony. No. We're actually in the conch of Ozark, madman and hillbilly trusting drug money launderer Marty Jason Bateman. Tony.
Yes, of course it is. It's so obvious now. I'm going to go and stand under Blaine and warn him that those sausages are made from vegetarians.
Can't, Tony. We've got to go.
But I don't want to go. I want to stay here. I'm spinning. I'm shrinking. I don't know about you, God, but when I awoke this morning, I had no idea that I would be shrunk and transported into the nose of Ozark Supercrim Marty Bateman.
I did, Tony.
Yeah, fair point. I enjoy our little journeys into the proboscis of the rich and famous, God, but I'm always happy to be back in the lovely surroundings of the God Chat studios.
Yeah, whatever, Tony.
Hey, Tom, what you doing?
Hey, Mike. I'm editing our podcast, Storytime with Tom and Mike.
Did you include funny, relatable stories from our lives?
Yeah, dude, you were there. You helped me record.
What about improv sketches, word games, and terrible comments from Reddit? Did you put those in there?
We do this every week. You know I put that stuff in there.
All right, just making sure. Because one time you made a whole podcast about poodles and it did terribly.
That was a one-time thing. I told you that.
I wasn't even in it.
I said I was sorry.
Yeah, so that's the guys from Storytime with Tom and Mike, a podcast that's better than this one. Ooh, looks like we've just received an email in the God Chat inbox from Edward Lauder. Hi, Tony and the God Chat team. I've just discovered your podcast, and I love it. God Chat is by far my favourite atheist podcast. Brilliant. Keep it up. Ed
Oh,
Lauder.
not another one, Tony. These atheists are trying to get their evidence-based fingers into every pie. Jesus, I'm sick of them.
Yeah, it's not an atheist podcast, Edward Lauder. I talk to God, for God's sake. Oh, I don't know. It's like, I tell you what, God, it's like you're not real sometimes. Honestly, these people. And now it's time for a new part of the podcast called The Lord's Sword. Brought to you by Jason Vogel, Tier 2 patron.
What the hell's this, Tony?
Well, it's the part of the podcast where we ask the Lord who or what has fallen victim to the Lord's sword. What you got for us, big fella?
This episode, Tony, I'm putting dolphins under the Lord's sword.
Dolphins. Why?
Well, they're just stupid clacking fish, Tony.
I thought dolphins were quite intelligent, God.
Intelligent? Dolphins, Tony? Have you lost your mind? Have you ever seen a dolphin try and escape from a maze? Thick as pig shit, Tony. That's why, in this episode, dolphins are falling under my sword.
And there you have it. Stupid dolphins have gone under
The Lord's sword! Any new patrons, Tony, to the God Chat family?
No, none at all. Oh, actually, yes, I completely forgot. Our friend Michael Batten from the Hypothetical A What If podcast has joined as a top tier patron. God,
Ooh, top tier. Thank you, Michael. Ooh, top tier. Thank you, Michael. Does that make sense, Michael? It doesn't make sense, Michael, why you did that, Michael. Michael, it doesn't make sense, but thank you, Michael. Michael, thank you, Michael, for supporting the God Chat podcast and joining the God Chat family, Michael.
yeah, thanks, Michael. Although I feel you will soon regret your recent financial support of this tawdry nonsense. It's rubbish. But we are grateful, seriously. Thank you, mate.
Yeah, me too, probably.
As a top tier patron, you get access to Unleash Your Inner God, the self-help podcast that's taking the internet by storm. You also get early access to the podcast. You get a signed photo. You get your own song, which will be on the next episode. there you go. Well done.
Unleash your inner God, Michael.
Now, last episode we announced that Jason Vogel had joined the patron family. As a patron, you get a song for you about you. Here's your song, Jason. This is the Jason Vogel song.
And on the 7th day,
He likes to listen to the God Chat podcast.
God can rest creative Jason.
He sits in his recliner and listens away. God chat every day. Jason Vogel.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
There's milk in the tree. There's cheese on my foot. It's time for Dolly Parton.
Lots of dairy, Tony.
I'm feeling dizzy as I spin up into God's nose. Jason's got snorted into God's nose.
Something in my nose.
Lots of hair. And lots of God-sized bogies.
It's itchy, Tony.
Jason is lost.
Jason's in my
He
nose.
can't see.
him
He's
out.
going inside a nasal mystery. It's God's nose, and Jason Vogel's getting inside. He's peeping out. He's peeping out. He's peeping out. He's peeping out. Oh no! Looks like God has sneezed out Jason.
My eyes are watering.
Jason's falling down from space.
I don't care.
He's going to land in Earth. He's going to land on his face. Oh, Jason. Please be careful when you land on Earth because it's hard.
Praise the Lord. Praise me. Praise God. Love me.
It's called a chain reaction. And God can't stop sneezing. It's called a chain reaction. Jason caused a chain reaction in God's nose. Falling to Earth. I hope he's okay. We love you, Jason. That really was bloody awful, to be fair.
I'm sure Jason is really feeling like he's got his money's worth there, Tony.
Moving on, we've had another email, this time from someone called Canadian Heretic. Hi guys, love the podcast, makes me laugh out loud. I've recently begun my journey out of religion, and having spent years being indoctrinated, I've finally seen the light, if you will, and I'm working my way out of religion. It's hard, and I still have nightmares about hell, but I'm just taking it day by day. I was just wanting you and God's feedback on getting some support in the community as I try to navigate life without religion. Do you know any good atheist groups or meetups or atheist support groups that may be able to support me through this difficult transition? Keep safe, keep up the great work. Canadian Heretic. For fuck's sake, Canadian Heretic, don't do it. The last thing you need is to hang around with a group of atheists, patting each other on the back for not believing in God when there's clear evidence. Jesus, it's like a cult. Walk away with your dignity. Any advice, God?
Not really, Tony. I'm not going to waste my breath on this piss-weak excuse for a human. If he wants to turn his back on me, that's his lookout. And if he thinks the solutions to his problems is hanging out with atheist types, playing Dungeons and Dragons, sweating and poring over pictures of Dolly Parton, that's his lookout. There's only one path, Canadian Heretic. On your knees. Worship me.
Great. Lovely to hear from you, Canadian Heretic. Me and God, we're here for you. Actually, God, when you're having your rant, I've just checked, and you do realise that all 3 listeners to the podcast are atheists.
What? That's madness, Tony.
We've had an audio question from a chap called Mr. Mackey. So, as it's audio, I'm going to play it now, God, just for you.
Hello, God. This is Mr. Mackey. Okay, I'm just sending this question in because I just want to know who dookied in the urinal. Okay, when you dookie in the urinal, it's not okay. Okay, and I can't find out who did it. So I was wondering if you could tell me because you know everything. Okay, I would really appreciate that. Okay. Okay.
Tony, I didn't understand a bloody word of that. What's a dookie?
It's an American slang phrase for fecal matter, God.
What's fecal matter, Tony?
Oh, Jesus, God. Get with the programme, you know. Fecal matter. Cook a butt burrito. Crap. Curl some pipe. Debulk. Defecate. Do the royal squat. Doo-doo. Drop a juice. Drop a dookie. Drop the kids off at the pool. Dump a stump. Fill the peanut butter jar. Float a trout. Grow a tail. Hit pay dirt. Launch a butt shuttle. Launch a torpedo. Lay a brick. Lay a cable. Make a deposit at the porcelain bank. Log an entry. Make room for lunch. Offload some freight. Pack your underwear. Paint a bowl. Park some bark. Pinch a loaf. Plant some corn. Poke the turtle's head out. Prairie dogging. Punish the porcelain. Recycle fibre. Release your payload. Seek revenge on the brown bomber. Sink the Bismarck. Sit on the throne. Squeeze the cheese. Take the Browns to the Super Bowl. Busting the grumpy. Cut and rope. Make an offering to the porcelain throne. Building a log cabin. Make like Snoop and drop it like it's hot. Use the big white telephone. Unloose the caboose. I've got to see the man about a horse. Murder a brown snake. Download some software. Churn the dookie butter. Drop some potatoes in the crock pot. Craft the fudge pop. Deploying the USS Brownfish. Releasing the Kraken.
All right, Tony, I get the message. Poo. So Mr. Mackey wants to know who did a poo in the urinal. Right, I get it now. It's beginning to make sense. Initial suspects were Craig, Kenny, and Kyles. But I can reveal, after much deliberation, that Stan was the one who did a dookie in the urinal. Does that make sense, Mr. Mackey?
Oh, fuck me, God, I'm exhausted. Not sure how many more of these I can do.
Just shut up, Tony, and stop moaning. Anything else? I need to go and get my bat waxed.
Nah, not really. Thanks for listening to this awful, tired, shite excuse for a podcast. www.godchatmerch.com. There's God's Landfill there. There's all sorts of T-shirts, mugs, and shower curtains there that you can adorn yourself with. Now, I know some of you have actually bought stuff on there because I've seen the sales, and I've only had one photo through. Like, if you've bought a T-shirt or one of the mugs, please send a photo through of it in the wild. Me and God would really like to see that. Come on.
Well, you would, Tony, but I don't. Anyway, mate, I'm out of here. I've got to get my back sorted out. See you next episode.
Yeah, see you, mate. Oh, let's get that. Hello, this is Tony. Tony Crump. Who's this, sorry? Right. No, well, I don't think it is. No. Well, I don't need to check. No. Well, because it's not on fire. Well, I can see from here. Well, there's no smoke. I can't smell burning. No, it's not on fire. No, I don't need a fire truck. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye. Maggots. Maggots in his nose, maggots in his hair, maggots in his mouth, maggots in his ear. It's maggots. Look at the maggots. Maggots in his ears, maggots in his nose, maggots in his mouth, maggots in his hair. It's maggots. Look at maggots.
I was flying through space. Then I looked at my face, saw maggots. Lots of maggots coming out of my face, Tony. I was flying through space. Maggots all over the place, it's maggots. Look at my maggots.
Maggots in his nose, maggots in his ears, maggots in his eyes, maggots in his hair. It's maggots. Look at God's maggots. He's maggot mouth. He's maggot mouth. And his head is a bubble in space. Maggots in his ears, maggots in his nose, maggots in his ears, maggots in his nose, maggots.
They're my maggots, Tony.